After this, James Hetfield, Metallica's towering frontman, known for his powerful voice and stoic demeanor, steps into the spotlight to deliver a revelation that sends shockwaves through the rock world. His words are aimed not at an outside critic, nor at an industry rival, but at Lars Ulrich, the band's co-founder, drummer, and Hetfield's longest-standing collaborator. What emerges is a tale of tension, creative clashes, and personal struggles that have long simmered beneath the surface of Metallica's storied history. Think of Metallica as a ship sailing through stormy seas, with Hetfield and Ulrich at the helm. Their partnership has been the band's driving force, but their personalities couldn't be more different. Hetfield, introspective and disciplined, often found himself at odds with Ulrich's fiery, impulsive approach. From the earliest days of Metallica, their clashes were as much a part of the band's identity as their music. One of the most notorious examples came during the recording of Saint Anger in 2003. The accompanying documentary, Some Kind of Monster, laid bare the raw tensions between Hetfield and Ulrich. The two men were shown in heated arguments, with Ulrich's aggressive demands and Hetfield's need for control colliding head-on. The result was a chaotic creative process that nearly tore the band apart. For Hetfield, Ulrich's relentless push for innovation often felt like a betrayal of the band's roots. For Ulrich, Hetfield's rigidity stifled their growth. Yet, even in the face of these battles, their partnership endured. It was a fragile truce built on mutual respect but tested by their opposing personalities. Each clash brought them closer to the edge, but it also pushed Metallica to new heights of success, proving that conflict can be as much a creative force as it is a destructive one. Beyond Metallica, Lars Ulrich became one of the most divisive figures in the music industry during his infamous battle with Napster in 2000. Ulrich's campaign against the file-sharing service was born out of a fierce belief in artists' rights, but it came at a steep cost. Fans, who once idolized him, turned against him in droves, accusing him of greed and hypocrisy. Picture this: Ulrich standing before Congress, passionately arguing against piracy, while thousands of Metallica fans burned their CDs in protest. What should have been a moment of triumph for artist advocacy became a PR disaster. Ulrich's aggressive stance alienated a generation of fans who saw him as out of touch with the digital age. The backlash was intense, with Ulrich enduring public ridicule and even death threats. For Ulrich, the Napster debacle was a battle worth fighting, but it left scars that never fully healed. It cemented his reputation as a polarizing figure, admired for his principles but reviled for his methods. Lars Ulrich's career has been a testament to his relentless ambition, but it has also been a stage for some of rock's most infamous conflicts. Whether battling bandmates or locking horns with rivals, Ulrich's combative nature often left a trail of fractured relationships and bruised egos. For him, confrontation was not just a byproduct of his drive, it was almost a fuel, an element that pushed him forward, but also alienated those around him. Picture this: Jason Newsted, the young and eager bassist who joined Metallica in the wake of Cliff Burton's tragic death, stepping into a band still grieving and volatile. From the start, Newsted was fighting an uphill battle. Lars Ulrich, known for his dominating personality, viewed Newsted as an outsider, a replacement rather than an equal. Ulrich often dismissed Newsted's contributions, creating an atmosphere where the bassist's creative input was not just undervalued, but outright ignored. One of the most glaring examples was the recording of And Justice for All, 1988, an album where Newsted's bass lines were almost inaudible in the final mix. Fans speculated whether this was intentional, a subtle act of exclusion by Ulrich and Hetfield, who controlled the production process. For Newsted, it was a crushing blow, a reminder that he would always be seen as an interloper in a group built on deep, pre-existing bonds. The tension only grew when Newsted pursued side projects, most notably Echo Brain. Ulrich saw this as a betrayal, a sign that Newsted's focus was divided. Heated arguments followed, with Ulrich criticizing Newsted's loyalty and questioning his commitment to Metallica. By 2001, the friction had reached a breaking point, and Newsted left the band. His departure was a wound that lingered in Metallica's history, a stark reminder of how Ulrich's unyielding expectations often came at a personal cost. If there is one name forever intertwined with Metallica's early years, it's Dave Mustaine. The original lead guitarist, Mustaine was a brilliant but volatile presence, whose substance abuse and erratic behavior led to his dismissal in 1983. Ulrich, alongside Hetfield, made the difficult decision to fire Mustaine, a move that would spark decades of animosity. Think of the moment. Mustaine, blindsided, sitting on a Greyhound bus back to California, with no warning, no closure, and no band. The bitterness festered, turning into one of longest-running feuds. Mustaine frequently accused Ulrich of undermining his contributions to Metallica's early success. Ulrich, never one to back down, countered by highlighting Mustaine's self-destructive tendencies. The war of words spilled into interviews, with Mustaine publicly airing his grievances, while Ulrich remained unapologetic. Even after Mustaine achieved massive success with Megadeth, the shadow of his ousting from Metallica loomed large, fueled by Ulrich's unwavering stance. Their rivalry became legendary, a symbol of how ambition and ego could tear apart even the most promising collaborations. Outside Metallica, Ulrich's confrontational nature often extended to his contemporaries in the thrash metal scene. Kerry King, the guitarist of Slayer, was one such rival. King was outspoken in his criticism of Metallica's evolving sound, particularly their shift toward a more mainstream style in the 1919s, with albums like Load and Reload. For King, Metallica's success came at the cost of their thrash roots, a betrayal of the genre they helped define. Ulrich, in turn, dismissed King's remarks as jealousy, viewing Slayer as a smaller band trying to punch above their weight. The tension underscored the broader debate within metal at the time, the push and pull between staying true to the underground scene and embracing mainstream success. While the feud never escalated to outright hostility, it highlighted Ulrich's tendency to clash with those who questioned Metallica's direction. Then there was Axl Rose, the enigmatic frontman of Guns N' Roses whose volatile personality matched Ulrich's in intensity. Their infamous 1992 co-headlining tour was plagued by chaos, from riots to delayed performances. The two bands were already competing for dominance in the rock world, and their egos clashed behind the scene. Ulrich was particularly critical of Rose's erratic behavior, which often left fans waiting for hours at concerts. The tension boiled over during their Montreal show, where a combination of technical issues and Rose's abrupt departure from the stage led to a full-scale riot. Ulrich later expressed his frustration with Rose's lack of professionalism, cementing their rivalry as one of rock's most dramatic clashes. For Lars Ulrich, these battles weren't just skirmishes. They were defining moments in a career shaped as much by confrontation as by collaboration. His willingness to challenge those around him, whether bandmates or rivals, earned him respect as a fierce advocate for Metallica's vision, but also alienated many in the process. Each conflict added to his reputation as a man who thrived on tension, a driving force in a world where creativity and chaos often went hand in hand. Yet, these clashes also underscored a deeper truth about Ulrich. He was unafraid to stand his ground, even when it cost him relationships or made him a polarizing figure. In his world, conflict wasn't just inevitable, it was necessary, a catalyst for growth, reinvention, and ultimately the relentless pursuit of greatness. Lars Ulrich's personal life was a mirror to the chaos and intensity of his career, brilliant yet turbulent, filled with passion but scarred by conflict. His relentless drive to succeed, the same force that propelled Metallica to legendary status, often came at a cost far greater than he anticipated. While the world saw him as the fearless drummer and unflinching advocate for artistic integrity, behind the scenes, Ulrich grappled with the emotional wreckage left in the wake of his ambition. Picture this: a man constantly on the move, touring the globe, surrounded by adoring fans but unable to find peace in his personal life. Ulrich's perfectionism, a trait that served him so well in the studio, proved to be a double-edged sword at home. His 2 divorces were not just legal separations, they were painful reminders of the cost of his unyielding pursuit of success. His first marriage, to Debbie Jones in the early 1980s, dissolved under the weight of Metallica's grueling touring schedule. Jones, unprepared for the chaos of rock stardom, struggled to find her place in a life dominated by Ulrich's singular focus on the band. Their love, once vibrant, faded into resentment and distance. His second marriage, to Skylar Sattenstein, was more public and equally tumultuous. Schuyler, a physician, and Ulrich seemed like an unlikely but promising match. Their relationship brought moments of joy, including the birth of their 2 sons, but even this foundation could not withstand Ulrich's workaholic tendencies. Metallica's demanding schedule, coupled with Ulrich's insatiable need to control every aspect of his career, created a chasm between them. The marriage unraveled, leaving Ulrich once again facing the reality that his personal life was crumbling, while his professional life soared. Ulrich's romantic entanglements didn't stop there. He became known for his high-profile relationships, often with women from the world of fashion and entertainment. These whirlwind romances, while glamorous on the surface, often lacked the stability he craved but struggled to achieve. The cycle was as predictable as it was painful. Intense passion, followed by emotional distance, fueled by Ulrich's inability to fully step away from the relentless demands of his career. Behind the rock star image was a man battling his own insecurities. Think of this: the fierce, outspoken Lars Ulrich, who could take on Napster and stand toe-to-toe with his bandmates, staring at his own reflection and questioning whether he could ever truly find balance. The very qualities that made him an unstoppable force in the music world, his intensity, his drive, his obsession with perfection, were the same traits that left his personal life in shambles. But amidst the chaos there was a glimmer of redemption. For Ulrich, fatherhood became both a challenge and a salvation. The births of his children forced him to confront his priorities and reflect on the choices that had shaped his life. Picture Ulrich, the consummate workaholic, pausing to read bedtime stories or attend school events, determined to be present in a way he hadn't been before. It was a transformation born not out of convenience but necessity. A realization that success meant little if it came at the expense of the relationships that mattered most. His role as a father didn't erase the pain of his past mistakes, but it gave him a new perspective. Ulrich began to rebuild fractured relationships, not just with his family, but with himself. He embraced therapy, introspection, and the humbling process of acknowledging his flaws. In his music, too, there was a shift, a more reflective tone, a willingness to explore vulnerability rather than hide behind his usual bravado. Ulrich's personal struggles didn't disappear overnight, nor were they ever fully resolved, but his journey toward redemption was a testament to his resilience. He learned to channel the intensity that had once driven people away into something constructive, balancing his roles as a father, musician, and, most importantly, a man seeking peace in the chaos of his life. The story of Lars Ulrich is not just one of conflict and triumph. It's a deeply human tale of growth, where even the most driven and unrelenting figures must face their own vulnerabilities. His path, marked by mistakes and redemption, serves as a reminder that success and failure are often two sides of the same coin, and it's how one navigates the space between them that defines their legacy. James Hetfield revelations bring new attention to Lars Ulrich's complexities. They underscore the duality of a man who has been both Metallica's backbone and its most divisive figure. Ulrich's legacy is one of contradictions, a relentless innovator who often found himself at odds with those closest to him, a defender of artistic integrity who alienated his fans, and a flawed individual who turned his struggles into fuel for one of the greatest bands in rock history. For all his conflicts, Ulrich's impact on Metallica and the music world is undeniable. His story is one of triumph and turmoil, a reminder that even the brightest stars are shaped by their shadows.